The following program is a production of the Fairfax Network, Fairfax County Public Schools.
Welcome to Meet the Author. I'm your host, Emily Godfrey. Joining me today via Zoom is author Jamie Sumner. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, guys.
Also joining us are students from South County Middle School, home of the Mustangs. Hello, Mustangs.
Hi.
Jamie writes middle grade novels that include characters with differing abilities. Some of these book titles include The Summer of June, One Kid's Trash, Tune It Out, Roll With It, and her most recent follow-up, A Time to Roll. Jamie, your books are amazing. They tug at the heartstrings in just the right way. As a librarian, I'm so happy that our students can see themselves represented in your books.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to write, and it's even more of a pleasure to get to talk to the kids who read the books, because I feel like they come at me with more insights than I ever could have seen. So,
well, our students at South County have read your book, Roll With It. And before we turn the conversation over to them, would you mind telling us a little bit about the story?
Sure. So Roll With It, which is the first book, follows Ellie, who wants nothing more than to be a famous baker. She watches the Great British Bake Off, and she writes letters to the chefs, and that's all she wants. But of course, unfortunately, the first thing people notice about her is her chair, and she's just not having that. So Ellie is sassy and she's strong, and when she and her mom moved to a trailer in Oklahoma to help take care of her grandparents, she kind of has to start all over. And that requires being vulnerable and trying to make friends and trying to figure out where she fits in with her family now that they're all squished together in this trailer, which is not handicap accessible, and neither is her school. And so it's a lot of first for Ellie, and it was really fun to get to write because I wrote it for my kiddo who is also in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm sure we're going to get to hear more about that as inspiration, but I want to get over to our Mustang students, and let's turn it to them because I know they have some great questions for you. So hi, who has the first question for Miss Sumner?
Hi, I'm Grayson Adams. I have the first question. Does Ellie relate to anyone in your life?
It's like I just planted you as my first question asker. Yes. So my son, Charlie, has cerebral palsy, which is what Ellie has, and is also in a wheelchair. And I wrote the book for him mostly because when he was about to start kindergarten and we were touring his elementary school, we did a tour of the library and I rolled him around. We looked at all the books, and there were basically no books that had kids like him on the covers or in the stories even. And I didn't want him to grow up thinking that he was the only one, or that nobody could understand him, or that the way he lived his life was somehow not as good or interesting as somebody else. And so I couldn't let that go. And so that's kind of how the book started, at least. Also, fun fact, today is Charlie's birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he is 11 today.
Oh, well, happy birthday to Charlie. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who has our next question? What's your name and what is your question?
Hi, my name is Gigi Monette, and my question is, who is Cora from the book dedication and Time to Roll, and is she connected to Coralie?
That is such a great question. First of all, you guys, I'm so excited that I just found out as we were logging on that you guys got to read Time to Roll early, which is incredible. And I can't believe that you got that access, and I'm so excited. So I want to ask all these questions to you about what you thought. But anyway, Cora first of all, Cora does not know the book is dedicated to her. She is my daughter. So I have Charlie, who's 11, and then I have twins who are going to be 9 in June, Cora and Jonas. And this book is dedicated to my daughter, Cora. And it is so funny. I didn't even put together Cora and Coralie when I was writing the book. But of course it must have been in my brain because my Cora is not Coralie. But now it's super appropriate. So I guess that was a happy accident.
Thank you.
All right. Hi. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Joshua Owens. And my question is, how did you come up with Ellie's mom's character?
She was not very hard to come up with because she is a lot like me. Her idea of like that struggle between really wanting to protect your kid and be an advocate for them and also letting them do that for themselves is something that I struggle with in my own life as a parent. And then I think she, in certain ways, was in some ways, it's like the character came easy, but she was harder to write for me because I think she was so similar that it was like basically having an argument with yourself in your head because you have to show a character change, and she was kind of me in the story, and I'm like, how do I make me change? But yeah, so she definitely is a lot of me in there.
All right. Hi. Who has our next question?
Hi, I'm Carolina Hall, and my question is, why didn't you decide to include more examples of bullying in Roll With It?
So for Ellie, a lot of stories that feature kids with disabilities do focus on that bullying aspect. But for Ellie, I didn't want this story to be about her CP. I wanted it to be about her journey to making new friends and starting over in a new place and dealing with her grandfather who has Alzheimer's. And I didn't want the focus to be, because if you make it bullying, chances are they're bullying because of her chair. And then the whole story becomes about a girl being bullied because of her wheelchair. And I don't think that that would have been how I wanted to focus the story. I also think, and you got to see this a little bit in Time to Roll, those of you that read it, the bigger issue that I've seen with kids in chairs is less the bullying and more they don't get treated the same. So they either get treated exaggeratedly nice, like they're not real people, and you don't take the time to meet them, or they get ignored. And so from what I've seen in kids that I've talked to, it's more about those two extremes than it is like picking on someone. So I really wanted to show the reality of what I think kids who are in chairs deal with more often than not.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What a great question.
That was a good question.
Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hello, I'm Victoria Eller, and my question is, if Ellie had a snow day, what would she be doing?
Well, first of all, oh my gosh, you guys, now I want to tell you all the things because I'm in the middle of editing the third and final book. And there is a snow day in there that I am literally today on the page editing the snow day, but I'm not going to tell you about that one. I'm going to tell you about another one because I want to think one up. If Ellie had a snow day, she would sleep in. She would bake something amazing and interesting, like cardamom cinnamon rolls with some sort of fun glaze. She would message Coralie to come over to her house, and then they would go somewhere and get in trouble. They would probably get Coralie's step-grandma, Susie, to pick them up in their caddy, drive them to Bert's, pick him up, and then they're going to go do something that will get them in trouble, probably.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
That was a great question, too. These are fun. I've never had these questions before, so this is fun.
Well, I'm so excited because now you have a preview of the third novel, too. Like, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. I know we got a sneak peek. This is fantastic. All right. Hi. What's your name and what's your question?
My name is Josh Owens, and my question is, how did you come up with Bert's character?
Okay, so this question is funny because I do get asked this question a lot, and I never know how to answer it because I honestly will tell you I don't know. Bert came to me fully formed as he is, and he was so real in my mind that he just, like, the way he speaks, the way he walks, his satchel, all of it just came to me. And he is so special to me. And I will tell you this secret too. The third book mostly focuses on Bert. Because the one suggestion I get from school visits is we want more Bert. We just want to know more about him and see him go through more stuff, and have him have a bigger role. So Bert's story is coming, and it's so good.
I like all these sneak peeks we're getting. This is fantastic.
I wonder if I'm even supposed to be talking about this. I don't care. I'm going to talk about it.
Well, those were great questions, Mustangs. We'll come back to you a bit later in the show. Do you have a question for Jamie Sumner? Join our conversation and give us a call. Jamie, your books feature kids with differing abilities. Some can be seen, like Ellie's CP and Roll With It, and some are unseen, like Lou's sensory processing disorder in Tune It Out, or June's anxiety in The Summer of June. What motivates you to create these diverse characters?
I think for me, so I think as a middle schooler especially, or when you look around middle school, I guess I'll say, and you're in middle school, you get this vibe that everybody else, or at least this is what I felt, everyone else had it all together. Like they had it figured out. They know some secret about middle school and how to get through it that I don't know. And how do they all know it? And where do I need to find it? And I just feel different. And I think that the reason I write the characters I do is because they are people who feel different from the rest of their peers for some reason or other. But I think the key there is that the thing that I love about telling these stories is that ultimately you see that everybody feels different. Nobody feels like they fit in the right way, or they know to say the right thing, or wear the right thing, or think the right thing. They think, okay, I worry. Is that so weird? Why does everybody else seem so chill, but I'm a worrier? Or, with Lou, certain sounds bug them. And when that book came out, so many students and adults, librarians and teachers emailed me saying, I never knew this was a thing. This is a thing for me. And it's this idea that when you can recognize traits in yourself in a character, it makes you feel seen and understood. And I think that that's really important for anybody. And I think we all need that. And that's basically why we read in the first place, or it's why I read.
I could not agree more. I think that that is the power of literature, right? Being able to make connections with characters either as a window into a life you've never lived, to be able to create empathy and compassion, or as a mirror to see yourself. So I'm just so grateful when we can have authors who write these books for our students and then have them in our school. So it's just fantastic. But you may have heard the word diversity used when talking about many different topics. We talk about biodiversity when we're referring to the many different types of plants and animals in an ecosystem. We talk about cultural diversity when we're referring to all the different customs and beliefs many people have. But what exactly does neurodiversity mean? Let's watch this and find out.
We are all different. Some differences are differences we can see, like hair color or height, while some differences are invisible, like allergies or favorite desserts. We all experience the world in different ways. We have hidden strengths and hidden challenges. Our brains are totally different from one another, which is super important. We need different brains to solve different problems. We call these brain differences neurodiversity. It just means every brain is unique. While everyone is neurodiverse, there are also common ways that people experience things. or neurotypical experiences. For example, more people see the color of the sky in this picture as blue and the grass as green. This would be a neurotypical experience. If you were colorblind, however, you may see the sky as purple and the grass as yellow. There is nothing wrong with this experience, you just have a neurodivergent brain. A brain that sees the image in a way different from a neurotypical brain. There are many different ways that someone can be neurodivergent. And as many as 1 in 5 people could be considered neurodivergent. Neurodivergent people may have challenges with being oversensitive to sounds or smells. Or they may see letters or numbers differently. Some of these same challenges could also be huge strengths. Neurodiverse people may be extremely creative, have the ability to process information in 3 dimensions, or have an extraordinary memory. Valuing all of our diverse brains and our unique ways of experiencing the world allows us to solve some of our most challenging problems. So be thankful for all these wonderfully amazing, beautiful brains.
So Jamie, Lou's sensory processing disorder is a great example of neurodiversity. Could you tell us a little bit more about their story?
So SPD is something that actually I mentioned Charlie before, that Charlie was diagnosed with early on. And it is essentially, the easiest way I can describe it is okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're walking down the street and you're talking to a friend and a car alarm goes off. If you're neurodivergent and you have SPD, the chances are your friend can keep walking and say that's really annoying and keep talking and having a conversation. But if you have SPD, that sound overrides every other sensory experience you're having. Your sense of your feet on the ground, what the sky looks like, what your friend is saying, because all you can focus on, your whole body is focused on that sound. And it's like a traffic jam in your brain and everything just halts. And so with Lou and the SPD, that's essentially what it is. It could be a texture of clothing and it's all she can feel, so she can't focus. It could be a certain sound like a blender, applause, or unexpected touches. Anything like that could basically be a trigger for her. And part of what you see Lou go through in the book is her therapy, her cognitive behavioral exposure therapy that her counselor gets her to do, and like the 5-second hugs and like the pinky promises with well. And so all of those things are Lou practicing how to manage her triggers.
Well, let's go back to our South County students now to take some more of their questions. Mustangs, we're ready for you. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Mary Grace Anderson, and my question is, what sort of research do you have to do before you write a book?
So it differs based on the book, for sure. It can vary from, I'm researching certain locations because I want to make sure I know what trees grow in Eufaula, Oklahoma versus here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I am. It could be, what's the temperature in July in Lake Tahoe, because I'm working on a book that's set in Lake Tahoe. But then other research, if it's character-based, if it is something like depression or anxiety or SPD or anything like that, I have sensitivity readers who will read what I say to make sure it rings true and is authentic. And then also I will interview people with these various conditions, or if it's something that I have dealt with, like the anxiety in the summer of June, then I pull from my own experience. Basically, I want as many eyes on it as I can that can make sure that I am portraying it correctly. Because I think one of the biggest disservices you could do to someone is try to write their story and get it wrong. Because then either they feel like they haven't been seen, or they feel wrong because wait, this isn't how I experienced this. So I really want to make sure I kind of hit it from every angle I can.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hi, what's your name again and what's your question?
Hi, my name's Gigi Rona, and my question is, what is your biggest challenge as a writer?
That's a great question. I think for me, my biggest challenge is if I'm going to put a character in a story, I want to make sure every single character gets their chance to have their full story told. So like in Roll With It, I don't just want to tell Ellie's story and have all the other characters just be there to exist or revolve around Ellie. I want you to care about Bert and the fact that he was bullied on the bus and is bullied by his peers and doesn't feel understood. And I want you to care about Coralie and the fact that she doesn't see her mom and doesn't kind of feel like she's good enough at school because they live in the trailer park and she lives with her grandparents, and she's kind of sees herself as lower class than the other kids. And so for me, my biggest concern and the thing I always want to focus on is that you get to see everyone's character story, like arc, and follow a path, so that you care about all of them, and so that it feels real, so that those other characters don't feel like they were just slapped on the page just to move the plot along.
Thank you.
All right. Hi. What's your question?
My question is, what are your strengths as a writer?
This is like one of those questions where you are asked to brag about yourself and it feels weird. And so I'm trying to be discerning and pick the thing that I have heard other people say, so that I can answer it truthfully.
Like, please brag all you want. We're into this.
I think for me, the thing that comes easiest, I'll say that, is a character's voice, the main character's voice. That's the first thing that comes to me. And I think it's because their heart comes to me first. Like, what they want is the first thing that starts an idea for me. And so their specific voice and how they speak and how they think is the strongest thing that I think that I do well. One fun fact for my student writers out there, one thing that I do for all my characters is make a playlist for them that is their tone, like the tone of this person. Which, I mean, if you've read Tune It Out, there's an actual playlist in there. But that if I'm ever getting stuck, I'll listen to their playlist and their voice just kind of comes back to me, and it's like a good writer hack.
That's a fantastic tip. Do you think, I don't want to put you on the spot, but could you share like one of the songs maybe that's on someone's playlist? So
for Lou, I don't know if I did put a song in there. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Patty Griffin was her to me, like kind of deep and bluesy, but she was small and spunky, and that was Lou in my mind. And Coralie is everything Dolly Parton, like wants to be bigger than life, is gonna be bigger than life, don't stop her. And then this is a sneak peek. So in the third Roll With It book, which does not have a title yet, it's currently just called Bert's Book on my computer. The overarching song, and I listened to it almost every morning before I started writing, was Stand By Me by Skylar Grey. So y'all can look that up if you need to. It's on YouTube. And the vibe of that song just like got into me for this book. Like all the big feels came out with that specific song. And so that's my theme song for the third one.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's such a great, like you said, writer hack. And I think our students can really relate to that and help them get in the writing zone for their own characters. Mm-hmm. We have time for one more question from our students. So, hi. What's your last question?
What is some advice for new writers?
Guys, I swear, the first question, the last question, it's like I whispered to you before we got on screen. Best advice. Okay. Know that it's not going to be perfect, and don't expect yourself to be perfect. Just take that pressure off right now. I think the best thing a writer could do, a professional writer like me, would be to show you my first draft versus my last draft, because that first draft wouldn't get published in any publishing house in the world. And the point is to keep going so that it gets better every time. If you try for perfection in the beginning, you're just going to get stuck. So just keep going and don't worry, and just keep writing and writing. And every time you do, you practice and you get better. And that's the key. Just keep going. Don't worry about like, if you get stuck on a sentence, fine, leave it. Go on to the next. You get stuck on a scene, skip around. Like there's no rule that says I have to get from A to Z and it has to be perfect with no mistakes. Like just experiment and have fun, because that's the best part about this job and this creative life, is that the experiments and the chances you take are usually the ones that end up paying out in the long run.
Thank you so much, South County Mustangs, for joining us today. You guys, come on back out. We want to see all of your fantastic and genius faces. Thank you guys so much. Those were awesome questions. Oh yeah, that's awesome. and I really thought they were great questions, so thank you.
Y'all did a great job. That was fun, you guys.
They did a great job. Jamie, I know that you have Bert's book coming out. Do you think that that'll be the final one in this series, or do you think maybe there might be more?
I think of it as the final, but then what am I even saying? Because I never thought that there would be a second one. So currently in my mind, it's the grand finale, but you never know. I mean, in the third one, they are poised to go off to high school. So that could be a whole nother ball game.
And there's no title? You can't give us a sneak of it at all?
I would if I could. My editor and I both are like, we don't know yet. It's just Bert's book.
maybe that will be all it needs to be called.
If you guys have a title, you email me. I'm not kidding. Send me some title ideas.
I like that. That's a great idea. So I know, like we've been talking about this series, but do you have other ideas that are percolating for other types of books with other characters right now?
Always. I remember what I said about like taking some risks. So I have a book coming out next spring. You know, my example about temperatures in July at Lake Tahoe, that was a real thing I had to research, because I just wrote, well, it's coming out next spring. It's called Deep Water, and it is a book written entirely in verse.
Oh, wow.
And it takes place over 6 hours total of a girl who is trying to be the youngest marathon swimmer to swim across Lake Tahoe.
That sounds amazing. I have so many follow-up questions.
I know. It's a crazy, fun, awesome book, and I'm so excited about it. And there's action and adventure, and also she's processing some things about her family while she's swimming, and that's part of the reason she's trying to do this swim, and it's a lot. And okay, let me keep going. So
yeah, please
I also have a children's book, picture book for the youngins coming out. That one doesn't come out until 2026, but I have another book in verse coming out after Deep Water in a couple of years that takes place in New Orleans. About a girl on the hunt for her lost dog.
Oh, wow.
So,
I
just want to be entertained.
Well, what inspired you to write in verse? Because that seems like a very different departure. You know, that seems like a totally different process.
What? That's where I started. As a young writer, like 4th, 5th, 6th grade, I started with poetry.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of always, like, I think all my books have a lyrical sound to them when I write. So it wasn't that big of a leap to turn 2 books in verse that are more just like snapshot pictures of those lyrical sounds and styles that I always gravitate towards anyway. So it was actually easier in a lot of ways to play with language and write those, because it just felt fun and spunky and kind of natural to do it.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us today and chatting about your books. And they're just so heartfelt and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
If you would like to learn more about author Jamie Sumner, visit her website. To learn more about our upcoming programs, visit the Fairfax Network. For the Fairfax Network, I'm Emily Godfrey. Keep reading, keep writing, and keep dreaming. Thanks for watching.